There we go. So it's been a couple of months since we've talked about this. And so I wanted to give an update on sort of what we're thinking and where we're going. We believe that we've identified a few, I guess privacy issues with the original proposal, and wanted to present an alternative shape for the API that will hopefully allow embedded frames to mitigate that, and get some opinions on this. So, so basically the idea, just as a recap, is that we want to have a way of sharing performance timeline entries from an embedded child frame up to its parents. As much as possible, we'd like to use existing code paths for this. Have performance observers be able to intercept them, and just work with performance entries as they are. And it's critical in all cases that the child frame is at least aware of what's going on and is consenting to having its performance entries shared. So let me just go over the original proposal that we had. Basically had an explicit request from the parent frame to receive timeline events from its children. We had an explicit opt-in from the child frame using a document policy to say where those entries should go. And the delivery from child to parent was implicit. Basically, any entries that sort of matched the criteria of what type of entry it was and where it was going would just be delivered from the child frame up to its parents. The problems with this are mostly centered around the fact that in all the use cases that we've looked at, the child frames would probably need to restrict this data more than that. They need a bit more control over what actually gets sent. They might want to have a number of entries omitted for whatever reason. They may want to restrict entries, just only allowing certain ones by type. They may need to modify the entries themselves. There may be sensitive info that just has to be redacted in order to make them sanitized for delivery. And you might want to do that differently for different origins. And so the existing original proposal didn't allow really for any of that. So the new approach that I just want to outline here still has the same explicit request from the parent frame. The difference is that the opt-in from the child is implicit in the fact that it just calls a new API to do this, and explicitly controls the delivery up to its parents. Right. So essentially, this is unchanged from the previous proposal. In the parent frame, you register a performance observer. We're not looking at the synchronous methods anymore. There just seem to be no way of making those performant. So we're using performance observer, specifying explicitly that you want to include data from child frames. And on the parent side, that's all you need to do. On the child side, we are thinking about a new API, and completely bike sheddable name here is just broadcast entries, probably bound to the performance object, where you provide it a list of entries, whether that is an actual performance entry list or just an iterable of entries, and then a target specification, very similar to what post message does. So you can specify star to say this can go to all origins. You could specify a particular origin or probably a list of origins. And you would use that. I mean, it could be as simple as create a performance observer and in your callback, broadcast what you've got. Right. This is obviously more JavaScript than the original proposal, but this seems to be the sort of the simplest way that we could do this. As a more complicated example, right, you could do this, again, registering your performance observer to sort of get access to the entries as they come in. You could do things like, if there's an internal URL in here, then just omit this from the list. If there's some sensitive information, then replace that URL. And then finally, once you've actually compiled the list and filtered it as you need to, then send that back up to the parents. And that's basically the shape that I want to propose. I'm looking at updating the actual issue and the pull request to match this, but would like to get feedback from the group about whether this sort of thing is usable, useful, still fulfills the requirements, right, and our goals here. And yeah, if you want to stop that, that's all I've got for slides.